All right, y'all. I'm going to be real with you. This part almost broke me to write. Not because of the action, though there's plenty of that. Not because of the power scaling, though we're going to places that make everything before look like a warm up. It almost broke me because this is the part where the story stops being fun and starts being heavy. The consequences that have been building since WHIS stole a baby from a crater 22 years ago, they come due. All of them. At once. Part 1 was quiet, Part 2 was discovery, Part 3 was expansion, Part 4 is reckoning. 3 acts, 3 transformations, and one moment so devastating that it redefines who Goku is and what this story is about. Let's do this. Before we get to Goku's journey, I need to introduce the person who's coming to end it. Orath, Universe 11's angel attendant, the same universe that produces Jiren in the canonical timeline, the same universe defined by its worship of justice and order. And Orath is the distillation of those values in angelic form. Where WHIS is playful, Orath is precise. Where WHIS finds mortals endearing, Orath finds them statistically relevant. He doesn't hate mortals. He doesn't love them. He categorizes them. Every mortal is a data point in the ongoing calculation of universal stability. And Orath's job, his singular, absolute, unwavering purpose, is to ensure the calculation stays balanced. He is tall, even for an angel. Bone-white skin, hair the color of brushed steel, worn close-cropped and severe. His eyes are gray, flat, unreadable, the color of a clouded sky that might produce rain or might simply watch you until you feel compelled to justify your existence. He carries his staff the way a surgeon carries a scalpel. Always ready, always clean, always in exactly the position it needs to be. The Grand Priest dispatched him with a simple directive. Confirm that the divine frequency anomaly in Universe 7 has burned out on its own, as all previous instances have. Routine assignment. Low priority. The Grand Priest expects Orath to arrive, scan the region, find nothing remarkable, and file a report. Orath is thorough. That's his defining characteristic. WHIS is brilliant but whimsical. The Grand Priest is omniscient but occasionally inattentive. Orath is neither brilliant nor inattentive. He is simply, relentlessly, exhaustively thorough. He checks every variable. He follows every thread. He does not assume outcomes. He does not trust precedent. He verifies. He enters Universe 7 space and begins scanning, methodically, sector by sector, reading the energy background radiation the way a forensic scientist reads a crime scene. Not just the obvious signals, but the residue, the echoes, the microscopic traces that most observers would dismiss as noise. He will find Goku. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when and what he'll do when he does. But that's Act 3's problem. Right now, Goku has a different destination. Eris gave him coordinates, a location in the space that exists between universes, not within any of the 12, not within the angel realm, not within any defined reality. The void, the place where erased things go. The cosmic dumpster of existence, if you want to be blunt about it, and I kind of do, because being poetic about a place that is literally defined by the absence of everything feels counterproductive. The void between universes is nothing. And I don't mean empty space. Empty space still has physics. It has quantum fluctuations, vacuum energy, the potential for something to exist. The void doesn't have that. It's not empty, it's absent. The difference between an empty room and a room that was never built. Navigating it requires either angelic capability, which Goku doesn't have, or a guide. Eris provides both. A stabilized pathway through the void, anchored by angelic constructs she's been maintaining for billions of years, leading to the specific point where Thane's remnants persist. Goku travels alone. WHIS can't enter the void without being detected by the Grand Priest's surveillance network. Angels leave a signature in extra-universal space that's impossible to conceal. Varos could accompany him, but the fallen angel's degraded power might not survive the passage, so it's just Goku. Walking through a corridor of faint violet light, Eris's stabilization energy, surrounded on all sides by nothing. And when I say nothing, y'all, I mean the kind of nothing that has weight, the kind that presses against your perception like static, that fills the spaces between your thoughts, that makes you aware of every piece of yourself because the absence of everything else throws your own existence into sharp relief. Goku's perception, trained to read the energy of everything around him, encounters the void and recoils. There's nothing to read, no energy, no matter, no information, just absence. "This is terrible," Goku says to no one. "This is the most terrible place I've ever been." He keeps walking, because of course he does. He finds the remnants 3 days into the void. 3 days of walking through nothing, sleeping in nothing, eating rations he brought from Earth in a backpack that Bulma gave him. You're going to the space between universes and you're bringing a backpack. What else would I bring? I don't know. Equipment. This has sandwiches in it. I put a tracking device in the sandwiches. I know. Thanks, Bulma. The remnants don't look like anything. That's the first thing Goku notices. In a space defined by absence, the remnants of Thane are defined by an even deeper absence. A place within the nothing where even the nothing has been removed. A hole in a hole. A vacuum within a vacuum. If the void is a blank page, Thane's remnants are a word that's been erased so thoroughly you can see the indentation where the pen pressed. Goku sits in front of this impression, cross-legged, the way WHIS taught him to sit when perceiving new forms of energy. He expands his awareness, carefully, gently, the way you'd extend a hand toward an animal you don't want to startle, and reaches into the impression. What he finds is not a person, not a consciousness in the way Sable is a consciousness with personality and memory and emotion. What he finds is movement, pure, abstract, distilled movement. A fighting style so refined and so fundamental that it survived the complete destruction of the beings who created it, the way a melody can persist in your mind long after the instrument that played it is gone. Void step. It's not a technique, not in the normal martial arts sense. Techniques are things you do. Punch this way, kick that way, channel energy through this pathway. Void step is a thing you become. It's the art of channeling energy through nothingness, of creating power not from presence but from absence, of fighting by being nowhere, occupying the spaces that don't exist, the gaps between moments, the void between action and reaction. Thane created it in the moments before his destruction. As the Grand Priest unmade him, piece by piece, layer by layer, erasing his existence from reality, Thane's final act was to encode himself into the process of his own erasure. He turned nothingness itself into a fighting style. He made absence into a weapon. He turned the Grand Priest's tool of destruction into an art form that could be inherited by anyone capable of surviving the learning process. Goku touches it. And here's where I need to be honest about what nearly kills Goku means, because Eris warned him this would happen, and she was not exaggerating. The moment Goku's perception contacts Void Step, it tries to unmake him, not maliciously, not intentionally. Void Step exists as an erasure pattern, a set of instructions encoded in nothingness, designed to interact with nothingness, optimized for operation within the void. When a living being touches it, the pattern doesn't recognize the difference between something to interact with and something to erase. It treats Goku's existence the way the Grand Priest's power treated Thane's, as something to be systematically removed. Goku feels himself starting to dissolve, not physically, deeper than that. His self begins to fray. Memories go first, not disappearing but becoming distant as if they happened to someone else. His sense of identity follows. I am Goku, becoming I am, becoming I, becoming a pronoun with no referent. His key signature starts to flatten, the complex waveform of his energy smoothing toward the baseline of nothing. This is what killed the universe for mortal. This is what drove them insane. The void step pattern is corrosive to existence, and learning it requires holding on to yourself while parts of you are being dissolved. Goku holds. He holds the way Krillin taught him, not through strength but through stubbornness. The refusal to stop existing, not because existence is pleasant or important or meaningful, but because stopping is not an option. He holds the way Varos taught him, through mortal instinct, the primal Saiyan refusal to surrender. He holds the way WHIS taught him, through awareness, maintaining a perfect perception of his own self even as the void step pattern tries to erase the perceiver. And he holds the way Sable taught him, through identity, through knowing who he is, not what he can do. Not how strong he is, who he is, a Saiyan, a student, a friend, a person who wants to see what's next. These things are anchors, and Void Step's erasure pattern breaks against them like waves against a seawall. Hours pass, or maybe days. Time doesn't work in the void. Goku sits in the nothingness, wrestling with a dead man's fighting style, his existence fraying and reforming and fraying again, as Void Step tests him, erodes him, tries to reduce him to the nothing it was born from. He doesn't learn Void Step the way he learned other techniques, through practice and repetition. He learns it through survival, through the act of persisting in its presence. The pattern, unable to erase him, does what encoded information does when it encounters a compatible system. It integrates. Slowly, painfully, one piece at a time, Void Step writes itself into Goku's body and mind and key structure, not replacing what's there, adding to it, a new layer, a new capability, the ability to access nothingness as a resource. When it's done, when the pattern has finished integrating and the dissolution pressure stops, Goku opens his eyes in the void and knows something he didn't know before. He knows how to be nowhere. Let me explain what this means in practical terms, because channeling energy through nothingness sounds very poetic, but doesn't tell you what it does in a fight. Void Step has three primary applications. Movement. Goku can now move through the spaces between spaces, not teleportation. Instant transmission moves you from point A to point B through a key anchored shortcut. Void Step moves you from point A to point B through nowhere. You cease to exist at point A and begin existing at point B with no transition. No travel time, no energy signature in transit. You simply aren't, and then you are. It's faster than teleportation because there's no distance to cover. You skip the concept of distance entirely. Defense. Goku can make parts of himself not exist temporarily. An incoming attack aimed at his chest can pass through the space where his chest is, because for the fraction of a second the attack occupies that space, his chest isn't there. It's not phasing. Phasing means your body becomes intangible. You still exist. You're just not interacting with physical reality. Void Step means you temporarily stop existing in that location. The attack can't hit what isn't there. The bridge. This is the one that matters most for the story. Void Step can create a null space within Goku's own body, a tiny zone of nothing that separates two things that would otherwise destroy each other through contact. Remember the problem from Part 3? The two paths, divine and primal, reject each other. Blue and SSJ4 can't coexist because their energies are antithetical. But Void Step can create a channel of nothingness between them, a buffer zone where they can exist side by side without touching. Two opposing currents separated by a river of pure absence. This is how the convergence becomes possible. We're not there yet, but the piece is in place. Goku returns from the void changed. Not obviously, he looks the same, sounds the same, moves the same, but there's something underneath. A depth to his presence that wasn't there before. A sense that part of him exists in a place you can't see. Like looking at an iceberg and knowing about the mass beneath the waterline. Back on Earth, he throws himself into the training that Part 3 left unfinished, mastering SSJ4 Primal God. The form was unlocked during the Beerus fight, but it was raw, uncontrolled, all power, no discipline. The same problem Varos identified years ago, repeated at a higher level, the primal path without the primal mastery. Varos takes the lead on this training, because this is Varos's domain, the mortal path, the beast's heart, the perfection of what you are rather than the transcendence of what you could become. And his approach is different from WHIS's, where WHIS trained control through refinement, hours of meditation, molecular level key manipulation, the patient accumulation of precision. Varos trains control through saturation. He puts Goku in SSJ4 and keeps him there. For days. For weeks. Forces him to live in the form, eat in the form, sleep in the form, exist as the primal god continuously until the aggressive, instinctive energy isn't a surge anymore, but a state. A natural condition. A second skin. It's rough. SSJ4 is not a comfortable form to sustain. The primal energy is aggressive. It wants to do things, wants to fight, wants to express itself through combat. Sustaining it during mundane activities, eating breakfast, having conversations, walking through a city, requires Goku to constantly manage an internal pressure that's shoving him toward aggression. It's like trying to hold a polite conversation while running a marathon. Possible. Exhausting. But Goku does it. And over weeks and months, the aggression settles. It doesn't disappear. It integrates. The primal fury becomes primal intensity, the same energy, the same biological power source, but channeled through a mind that's learned to coexist with it instead of being driven by it. By month 4, Goku in sustained SSJ4 can sit in meditation. can spar with controlled precision, can hold a key sphere as perfectly round as the ones WHIS taught him to make at age 8. But now the sphere is wrapped in crimson fur energy and pulses with a bestial heartbeat. By month 6, SSJ4 Primal God is his. Not a transformation he accesses in desperation, not a form that overwhelms his rational mind with instinct. It's a complete, mastered, fully realized expression of the primal path. Everything the great ape lineage ever promised, compressed into a humanoid frame and wielded with purpose. The crimson fur, the divine sigils, the golden eyes, the tail wrapped in light, all of it controlled. All of it his. Varos watches him perform a combat kata in sustained SSJ4. Fluid, aggressive, powerful, every movement carrying the weight of compressed Uzaru energy delivered with practiced precision, and nods. Your angel teacher gave you the sky, Varos says. I gave you the ground. He pauses. You've got both now, kid. The question is what happens when you try to stand on the ground and reach for the sky at the same time. Has anyone ever done that? No. That's what makes it interesting. During this training period, Goku begins to feel the central tension of his power more acutely than ever. He has two forms, two paths, two complete, fully realized expressions of what a Saiyan can become. Super Saiyan Blue, the divine path, precise, elegant, transcendent. Energy operating at a divine frequency, amplified through Super Saiyan biology, controlled with angelic technique. It's beautiful. Fighting in SSB is like conducting an orchestra. Every element in perfect harmony, every action optimized, every outcome calculated and achieved with surgical accuracy. Super Saiyan 4 Primal God, the primal path. Raw, visceral, instinctive. Energy drawn from the deepest biological wellspring of Saiyan heritage, compressed into a humanoid frame, wielded with the ferocity and adaptability of a predator. Fighting in SSJ4 is like riding a wildfire. You're not controlling it, you're directing it, channeling a force that's bigger than you through a body that's learned to be its partner rather than its container. Both are extraordinary. Both are beyond anything the mortal world has produced. And both have limits that the other could address. SSB's limit is power. It's precise, but its ceiling of raw output is lower than what the primal path can produce. Against Beerus, it wasn't enough. Against a full-strength god of destruction, it won't be enough. You can be as precise as you want. If the opponent simply outmasses you in energy, precision loses to volume. SSJ4's limit is finesse. It's powerful, but its control, even mastered, is rougher than what the divine path provides. The primal energy doesn't do delicate. It doesn't do the molecular level key manipulation that makes SSB's strikes interact with divine frequency phenomena. Against opponents who fight at a divine frequency, angels, gods, SSJ4's mortal frequency power is playing a different game. The solution is obvious. Merge them. Create a form that has SSB's frequency and precision and SSJ4's power and instinct. The problem is equally obvious. They're antithetical. The divine path seeks to transcend mortality, to leave behind the biological, the instinctive, the primal, and ascend to something higher. The primal path seeks to perfect mortality, to embrace the biological, to channel the instinctive, to become the ultimate expression of what a mortal body can achieve. These aren't just different approaches, they're different philosophies, different answers to the same question: what should a Saiyan become? Blue says, become something beyond Saiyan, beyond mortal, transcend. SSJ4 says, become the best Saiyan possible, the peak mortal, perfect. These answers reject each other. When Goku tries to activate both simultaneously, tries to hold SSB and SSJ4 in the same body at the same time, the energies collide, not metaphorically, physically. Divine frequency key and primal frequency key interact like matter and antimatter, mutual annihilation. The energy isn't just incompatible, it's destructive. Each path actively cancels the other. In the Beerus fight, Goku managed a single half-second synthesis, dropping SSJ4 and delivering one primal-powered strike through divine technique. A flash, a momentary bridge, enough to move a god 6 inches. But sustaining it, holding both paths simultaneously, as a form, as a state, WHIS says it's theoretically impossible. The energies reject each other at a fundamental level. You can't hold fire and ice in the same hand without one destroying the other, unless you put something between them, unless you create a space where neither exists, unless you have void step. But we're not there yet. The convergence comes in Act 2. Right now, the two paths exist as separate tools, separate forms, separate answers, and Goku carries both, switching between them, feeling them war inside him, sensing the potential synthesis that's just out of reach. The frustration is real, and it's productive, because Goku doesn't respond to frustration with despair. He responds with curiosity. Why do they reject each other? What specifically about the energies is incompatible? Where is the precise point of conflict? He meditates on it. WHIS helps, analyzing the energy interactions at an angelic level of detail. Varos helps, providing the primal path perspective on why the beast and the god can't share a body. Sable helps, telling him stories of ancient Saiyans who walked the line between control and instinct and found something in the middle. The answer, when it starts to form, is elegant. The two paths don't reject each other because they're incompatible. They reject each other because there's no space between them. In Goku's body, divine ki and primal ki occupy the same channels, the same pathways, the same physical systems. They collide because they have nowhere else to go. If there were a gap, a buffer, a space where neither path existed, they could coexist without touching, a null space, a void. The theory clicks into place. The practice will require a catalyst, something that forces Goku past the theoretical and into the actual, something that pushes both paths to their maximum simultaneously and demands that they work together or he dies. That catalyst has a name. Remember the green egg? King Piccolo dying in the ruins of his palace, birthing one final offspring with the last of his power. Small, angry embryo containing the compressed essence of a demon king's legacy. Goku watched it fly away, let it go. A thread left hanging. That thread has been hanging for 11 years. And in those 11 years, Piccolo Jr. has become something unprecedented. Here's his journey, y'all. And it's dark. Not Dragon Ball dark. Actually, dark. Because Piccolo Jr. was born from hatred. Literally born from it. The dying wish of a demon king who wanted nothing more than revenge against the child who humiliated him. Every cell in Piccolo Jr.'s body carries that directive. Every instinct, every impulse, every dream. The need to surpass, the need to destroy Goku. But Piccolo Jr. is also intelligent. More intelligent than his father, actually. King Piccolo was powerful but crude, a blunt instrument of conquest. Jr. inherited the power, but not the crudeness. He's strategic, patient, capable of long-term thinking, and the first thing his long-term thinking told him was, Goku is beyond me. I cannot surpass him through normal means. So he went looking for abnormal means. He traveled to Namek first. In this timeline, Frieza's conquest and eventual departure left the planet scarred but surviving. The Namekians, resilient as ever, rebuilt in the decades following Frieza's attention turning elsewhere. Piccolo Jr. arrived as a prodigal son, a Namekian, sort of by species, if not by culture, returning to the homeworld. He was welcomed cautiously, and then he did something forbidden. The Namekian assimilation ritual, the forced absorption of one Namekian by another. In canon, Piccolo absorbs Nail on Namek and later fuses with Kami on Earth. These are voluntary fusions, consensual, mutually agreed upon. What Piccolo Jr. does on Namek is not that. He challenges the strongest Namekian warriors. There are several elders who survived Frieza's occupation through cunning and power, and when they refuse to fuse with him, he takes them by force. It's brutal, it's wrong, and it works. Each assimilation adds to him not just power, but knowledge, techniques, memories, centuries of accumulated Namekian wisdom and combat experience, forcibly integrated into a being who was born 11 years ago and carries the genetic memory of a demon king. He becomes a composite, multiple Namekian consciousnesses layered inside one body, their individual identities subordinated to his overwhelming will. But Namek isn't enough. The assimilated Namekian power is significant. It elevates Piccolo from strong by Earth standards to genuinely impressive by universal standard. But it's not enough. Not for what he needs. Goku beat Sovereign Frieza. Goku pushed Beerus. Whatever Piccolo becomes, it needs to be in that range. And this is where Eris enters the picture. Now, I debated with myself about this, y'all. Eris helping Piccolo feels like it complicates her character. She gave Goku the coordinates to Void Step, and now she's powering up his enemy. But here's the thing about Eris. She doesn't care about Goku specifically. She cares about breaking the system. She'll empower anyone who might create chaos in the Divine Order. Goku is her primary investment. Piccolo is a secondary one. If Piccolo pushes Goku to become stronger, that serves her goal. If Piccolo somehow beats Goku and becomes the ceiling breaker instead, that also serves her goal. She doesn't play favorites, she plays probabilities. Eris opens a bridge to Universe 6 for Piccolo. Not out of generosity, out of calculated investment. Universe 6 has its own Namekians, and among them are warriors of extraordinary caliber. Piccolo crosses the bridge, fights, absorbs, returns. By the time he's finished, Piccolo Jr. is a being composed of, at rough count, 9 distinct Namekian consciousnesses from 2 separate universes, unified under a single dominant will. His power level has broken into the SSG range. His technique is a composite style drawn from centuries of accumulated combat experience across multiple bodies. He's regenerative to an absurd degree, each assimilated Namekian added to his already extreme regenerative capacity. And he's driven by a singular purpose refined across a decade of obsessive cultivation. Surpass the Saiyan. Prove that the being who destroyed his father in minutes is not invincible. Force Goku to acknowledge him. Not kill, acknowledge. Because here's the thing about Piccolo Jr., and this is the thread that connects him to his canonical counterpart. Beneath the hatred, beneath the rage, beneath the decade of dark pilgrimage and forced assimilation, there is a Namekian warrior who wants to be seen, who was born as an instrument of revenge and wants to become something more. Something that Goku, the untouchable, the divine trained, the impossible prodigy, would look at and say, "You are my equal." He returns to Earth, alone. No army, no allies, no declaration of war. He simply appears in the sky above the Western Reconstruction Zone, the region where his father once ruled, and he waits, because he knows Goku will feel him, and he knows Goku will come. Goku feels him from across the planet. The key signature is familiar. He remembers it, the small furious spark that flew from King Piccolo's dying body, but transformed, layered, dense with multiple overlapping consciousness signatures that weave together into something that reads as unified but isn't, a composite being, a chorus speaking in one voice. "That's Piccolo," Goku says. He's on the roof of Capsule Corp's new headquarters, watching the sunset with Krillin. His voice carries an energy that Krillin hasn't heard in months, the particular frequency of a Saiyan who has just detected a worthy opponent. He's really strong. How strong? SSG range, maybe higher. Krillin processes this for approximately 1 second before his face does the thing it does whenever Goku announces that something incredibly dangerous is happening. So, on a scale of 1 to the planet is going to explode, I need to go fight him. And there it is. It's not like that. He's Krillin. He's not here to destroy anything. He's here for me. I can feel it. He wants to fight me. Just me. That's not reassuring. It kind of is, though. The grin, the Saiyan grin. Krillin has seen it enough times to know there's no talking Goku out of whatever comes next. Cover for me? I always do, man. I always do. Goku arrives at the Western Zone. Piccolo is floating above the ruins of what was once Central City, his father's throne. There's a poetry to it that Piccolo is certainly aware of. He's changed physically. Still green, still Namekian, but larger. More muscular. His face carries the composite weight of 9 consciousnesses, and his eyes, purple, deep, ancient, hold the accumulated wisdom of beings who collectively span 500 years. He sees Goku. The air between them changes, charges. 2 impossible beings facing each other across the ruins of a fallen kingdom 12 years after a boy walked into a demon palace and ended a tyrant in minutes. "You've grown," Goku says. "So have you." Piccolo's voice is deeper, resonant, multiple harmonic undertones, the vestigial whisper of absorbed consciousnesses. "I've spent a decade preparing for this moment. I've absorbed the strongest warriors of 2 universes. I've traveled further and darker than any Namekian in history." Why? Because you took everything from me before I had the chance to become anything. My father, whatever he was, whatever he did, was me. I was born to avenge him. And instead of a battle, instead of a rivalry, instead of the respect of a worthy opponent, Piccolo's fists clench. The air crackles. You dismantled him like he was nothing. Like he didn't matter. Like everything he built and everything I was born to be was a footnote, a speed bump on your way to something bigger. I'm sorry. I don't want your apology. The words crack the air. Piccolo's ki flares, composite Namekian energy, dense and layered and furious. I want you to fight me. Really fight me. Not handle me. Not manage me. Fight me. Goku looks at him, reads the ki. The rage, yes, but also the pain, the loneliness, the desperate need to be acknowledged as something other than a villain's offspring, a footnote, a thread that the hero let hang because it wasn't important enough to tie off. Okay, Goku says, I'll fight you. He means it. SSB versus Piccolo. Goku starts with the Divine Path because that's his instinct. SSB is his primary combat form, refined and comfortable and reliable. Blue aura, white core, the works. And Piccolo matches it. Not easily, not cleanly, but competitively. The composite Namekian's power puts him in SSB's range, and his technique, 9 lifetimes of combat experience woven together, gives him a strategic depth that's genuinely dangerous. He doesn't fight like one person. He fights like a team compressed into one body. When Goku attacks from the left, one component consciousness handles the defense, while another simultaneously launches a counterattack from a different angle, their combined tactical processing, creating a style that's unpredictable because it's literally thinking with 9 brains. Goku is pushed. For the first time in SSB, he's not dominating, he's not losing. His angelic training gives him a technical edge that Piccolo's composite style can't quite match. But he's working, genuinely working, breathing hard, taking hits. The kind of fight where both opponents are peeling back layers, testing limits, escalating together. Is this all? Piccolo demands, slamming a regenerated arm. Goku blew the first one off. It grew back in seconds into a ki-enhanced hammer fist that rocks Goku backward. The mighty Goku, the angel's student, show me more! Goku shifts. SSJ4 Primal God. The crimson fur erupts. Golden eyes blaze. The energy signature shifts from divine precision to bestial intensity, and the fight transforms. SSJ4 Goku is rawer, more aggressive, his strikes carrying the compressed Uzaru power that rattles Piccolo's regeneration on a cellular level. But Piccolo adapts. The composite mind adjusts. One consciousness that fought primal-style Namekian warriors recognizes the aggression patterns. Another that specialized in defensive formations restructures their guard. A third that studied energy disruption techniques targets the primal key's less controlled emission patterns. Piccolo pushes SSJ4 to its limits. Every opening Goku creates is covered. Every advantage is countered. The composite style is designed, whether Piccolo intended it or not, to nullify singular approaches. He's not one opponent who can be overwhelmed by switching styles. He's 9 opponents in one body, and each one compensates for the other's weaknesses. This, y'all. This is the narrative function of this fight. It's not about Piccolo being stronger than Goku. It's about Piccolo being unified while Goku is divided. Piccolo fights with unity, all his absorbed selves working as one. Different perspectives, different skills, different experiences, all synthesized into a single, coherent combat identity. He has internal harmony, the pieces of himself cooperate. Goku fights with division, 2 paths, 2 philosophies, 2 transformations that can't coexist. He can use SSB or SSJ4, but each one leaves out what the other provides. He's fighting with half of himself at a time, switching between halves, and Piccolo's composite intelligence exploits the transition gaps every single time. You're split, Piccolo says, and his voice carries the analytical weight of 9 warrior minds reading the same pattern. Your power is divided. You fight in blue, and you have precision without force. You fight in your primal form, and you have force without precision. I've studied you. I've prepared for both. You cannot beat me with either. He's right, and here we are. The moment the entire story has been building towards since WHIS first talked about the 2 paths. Since Varos said, you'll need both. Since Sable told Goku about the sky and the ground. Since the Beerus fight where a single half-second synthesis moved a god. Since the void where Goku learned to create nothingness inside himself. Every piece is in place. Every lesson has been taught. Every path has been walked as far as it can go alone. Now they merge. Piccolo has Goku pinned, not physically, tactically. The composite Namekian has pushed Goku into a corner where neither SSB nor SSJ4 can overcome his unified defense. Goku is hurt, bruised, bleeding, running low on reserves from switching between forms. He's on one knee. Piccolo is standing above him, composite ki radiating outward, 9 voices speaking through one mouth. You can't win divided. You know this. Yeah, Goku spits blood, grins. The Saiyan grin, but different, sharper. There's something behind it that wasn't there before. Not desperation, not bravado, but recognition. The recognition of someone standing at the edge of a cliff who's about to step off because the only way forward is through the air. I know. Then yield, acknowledge me. Say it. Say that I am your equal, that I earned this, that a decade of sacrifice and pain meant something. You're not my equal, Goku says. Simply, honestly, without cruelty. Not yet, and neither am I. I haven't been fighting with everything I am. I've been fighting with half of myself at a time, two halves that don't want to be whole. He stands up, slowly. The ground cracks beneath him, not from power, from pressure. Both paths activating simultaneously, pushing against each other inside his body, the divine and the primal colliding and annihilating and colliding again in an endless internal war. WHIS said this was impossible, Goku says, that the two paths reject each other, that divine and primal can't coexist in one body. His ki fluctuates wildly. Blue flashes, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue. The oscillation increasing in frequency like a heartbeat accelerating toward cardiac arrest. But I learned something in the void, something from a dead man who figured out how to make nothing into something. The oscillation stops, not because one path won, not because they merged, because something appeared between them. Void step activates inside Goku's body, a null space, a channel of absolute nothingness running through his ki pathways like a river of absence, separating the divine frequency energy from the primal frequency energy. Not a barrier, a bridge, a strip of nothing that allows two incompatible energies to exist in the same body without touching, like the empty lane between two opposing streams of traffic, like the vacuum between the inner and outer walls of a thermos that prevents heat from crossing. The divine ki fills one side of the channel, precise, elegant, blue-white. The primal ki fills the other, raw, powerful, crimson gold. They don't touch, they don't annihilate, they coexist for the first time in one body, two paths side by side, separated by a river of void. And then, because Goku doesn't do things halfway, because the curiosity that drives him doesn't understand the concept of far enough, he does what Void Step was designed to do. He channels energy through nothingness. He pushes both paths through the null space simultaneously, feeds the divine and the primal into the void between them, and lets the nothingness act as a mixer, a point where the two energies can interact without annihilating, where their contradictions are resolved not through elimination but through coexistence, through integration. The energies merge, not into one thing, into two things held in one frame. Transcendence and perfection, divinity and mortality, God and beast. Super Saiyan Apex, the convergence. Y'all, I need you to see this. I need you to feel this, because everything I've written across 4 arcs, every training montage, every transformation, every philosophical conversation about paths and potential and what it means to be mortal, has been building to this visual, to this moment. One eye is golden, the primal path. The great ape lineage compressed into a single point of bestial intensity, looking out at the world with the hunger and awareness of a predator who has never known a cage. One eye is silver, the divine path. Angelic frequency manifest in immortal iris, seeing reality at the level that gods see it, the molecular, the energetic, the fundamental architecture of existence laid bare. The crimson fur of SSJ-4 recedes. It doesn't disappear, it transforms. The fur becomes a pattern of glowing crimson vein-like lines that trace across his skin, following his musculature, mapping the biological pathways where the primal energy flows. They pulse, not randomly, rhythmically, like a heartbeat, like the compressed Uzaru power has found a new way to express itself, not as a surface covering, but as an internal infrastructure. His hair turns white, stark absolute white, not the silver of ultra instinct or the gray of age, but the white of everything, every color combined, every frequency present, and it's wild. Not the neat frames of SSB or the stylized spikes of Super Saiyan. It grows out, lengthens, moves as if alive, as if the hair itself contains energy that refuses to be still. His aura is... I don't have one word for it, because it's not one aura. It's two, alternating. In a pulse, a visible, rhythmic oscillation like a heartbeat made of light, the aura shifts between blue-white calm, the divine path's energy, serene and controlled, and red-black ferocity, the primal path's energy, aggressive and alive. Not blending, alternating, like a heart pumping 2 different kinds of blood through 2 different circulatory systems in the same body. His tail remains, extended, powerful, wrapped in divine light that flickers between blue and gold. And the power. The ceiling cracks, not metaphorically, y'all, not poetically. The The ceiling, the metaphysical barrier that the divine order placed over all of mortal existence, the invisible wall that has held down every mortal in every universe for billions of years. Physically, actually, metaphysically, cracks. A fissure appears in the barrier, imperceptible to anyone below God-level perception, but blindingly obvious to anyone above it. A crack in the sky of the universe. A fracture in the rule that says this far and no further for the first time in billions of years. Since Thane, since the last mortal was unmade for daring to push this hard, the ceiling cracks and it screams. Not audibly, energetically. Every divine being in every universe feels it. A shudder, a wrongness, a tremor in the foundation of reality. Gods of destruction wake from sleep. Angels pause mid-sentence. The grand priest in his realm above all realms looks up from his ledger with narrowed eyes. On Earth, in the ruins of Central City, Goku stands in a form that has never existed before. A form that shouldn't exist. A mortal holding divinity and mortality at once without being destroyed by either. The convergence. The apex. The answer to the question that two paths spent the entire story asking. I don't have to choose, Goku says. His voice carries both harmonics, the divine resonance of SSG and the bestial growl of SSJ4, overlaid, unified, speaking as one. I don't have to choose between what I am and what I could become. I can be both. Piccolo stares, the composite warrior, the 9 consciousness beings Quad, who spent a decade building himself into an instrument of challenge and acknowledgement. He stares at Goku and sees something he has no category for. His composite minds, all 9 of them, representing centuries of accumulated experience across 2 universes, simultaneously reach the same conclusion. He's beyond me, not by a margin, not by a calculable factor, by a qualitative shift. The convergence isn't a stronger version of SSB or SSJ4, it's a new type of power, a category that didn't exist 30 seconds ago. The composite analysis that served Piccolo so well against either path individually cannot parse a form that is both paths simultaneously, because the tactical counter to divine precision is primal aggression, and the tactical counter to primal aggression is divine precision, and this form has both at once. Goku moves. In Apex form, movement is different. Void Step integrates with the dual path energy to produce a combat style that operates in ways I'm going to do my best to describe, even though, honestly, some of it exceeds what language was designed for. He's everywhere and nowhere. The Void Step component means he exists and doesn't exist simultaneously, present and absent in alternating frames, flickering between reality and void like a strobe light made of matter. You can't target what isn't there, and by the time it is there, it's already hit you. His strikes carry both energies. Each punch is delivered with angelic precision, divine path, and carries compressed Uzaru force, primal path, and the 2 energy types arrive at the point of impact in alternating waves, precision, then power, then precision, then power, like being hit by a combination that comes from 2 different dimensions simultaneously. Piccolo fights back. He's too proud and too powerful to simply fold. The composite warrior throws everything, every technique from every absorbed consciousness, every strategy, every dirty trick and desperate gambit accumulated across 9 lifetimes, and some of it lands. Goku in Apex form is not invulnerable. He's not perfect. The form is new, raw, untested, held together by will and void step and sheer Saiyan refusal to accept impossibility. There are gaps. There are moments where the dual paths destabilize, and the null space wavers and the convergence flickers. But the gaps close faster than Piccolo can exploit them. The form learns in real time. With each passing second, the dual paths settle more comfortably into their coexistence. The null space stabilizes, the alternating energy signature finds its rhythm. It's like watching an engine built from parts that were never designed to work together somehow, impossibly finding its RPM. 2 minutes. The fight lasts 2 minutes after the convergence activates. Not because Goku overwhelms Piccolo instantly, because Piccolo fights like a demon, gives absolutely everything, pushes the convergence to justify itself, but because the gap is real and it's widening with every heartbeat. Piccolo launches his ultimate technique, a composite beam attack channeling the energy of all 9 absorbed warriors through a single focal point. It's the most powerful attack ever generated by a Namekian. It would vaporize a planet. Goku doesn't dodge. He extends one hand, palm open, golden eye blazing, silver eye calm, and catches the beam. not blocks, catches. The convergence energy wraps around Piccolo's attack, divine precision disassembling its structure while primal power absorbs its force, and the beam collapses into nothing. Absorbed. Digested. Gone. You're incredible, Goku says, and the dual harmonics in his voice make the words resonate with a sincerity that transcends normal speech. 9 lifetimes of warriors in one body. That's the most unified thing I've ever fought. He's in front of Piccolo in a blink, void step, instantaneous, and his hand is on the Namekian's chest. Not striking, resting. The alternating aura washes over Piccolo, and within it, the composite warrior feels something he didn't expect. Not malice, not dominance, recognition. You pushed me to this, Goku says. Whatever this is, this form, this power, it wouldn't exist without you. You wanted me to acknowledge you. The golden eye meets Piccolo's gaze. I'm acknowledging you. You're the reason the ceiling cracked. Piccolo's composite defenses collapse. Not the physical ones, the emotional ones, the walls that a decade of hatred built, the armor that Avenge My Father provided. Under the convergence's dual gaze, one eye that sees the primal truth of what Piccolo is, one eye that sees the divine potential of what he could become, the Namekian warrior can't maintain the fiction that this was ever really about revenge. It was about being seen, being worthy, being something more than a villain's son born into a predetermined role. I yield, Piccolo says, quietly, with dignity. And in his composite voice, 9 warriors speaking as one, there is peace. Goku drops the convergence, the dual aura fades, the white hair recedes, his eyes return to black. Both of them, the same, mortal, his. He looks normal. He looks tired. He looks like a 23-year-old man who has just done something impossible and is already thinking about what comes next. Piccolo is on the ground, regenerating, his body knitting itself back together from the damage of the fight. He's looking up at Goku with an expression that contains 11 years of anger, slowly releasing, like a fist finally unclenching. What now? Piccolo asks. Goku extends a hand. You stop being angry at a dead man's ghost and start being whoever you actually are. Piccolo stares at the hand of the being who killed his father, who just shattered every limit he spent a decade trying to reach, who just acknowledged him, in the only language warriors truly understand as someone worthy. He takes the hand. The ceiling's crack was not subtle. It was a metaphysical scream heard across every universe by every being operating at divine-level perception. The Grand Priest felt it, every angel felt it, every god of destruction felt it. The fundamental barrier that has held mortal existence in check for billions of years just fractured, and the shockwave of that fracture is still reverberating through the fabric of reality. Orath didn't need to search anymore. The crack told him exactly where the anomaly was. He adjusts his course, accelerates, and his mission parameters, quietly, automatically, in the programming that the Grand Priest hard-coded into every Investigator Angel's operating protocol, update. Previous directive, confirm anomaly has burned out. Assess. Report. Current directive, neutralize. Orath arrives in Universe 7 space precisely 47 days after the convergence. He enters Earth's solar system without announcement, without courtesy, without the polite diplomatic overtures that angels typically observe when visiting another universe's domain. This isn't a visit, it's an enforcement action. He scans Earth from orbit, locates the anomaly, Goku's energy signature, even suppressed, carries the distinctive resonance of a being who has touched divine frequency. It's like trying to hide a lighthouse by turning it off. The structure is still there, still visible if you know what to look for. He descends. Goku feels him from the surface. The angelic energy signature, cold, precise, familiar in the way that WHIS's energy is familiar but lacking WHIS's warmth, registers on his perception like a searchlight sweeping across a dark room. That's an angel, Goku says. He's at Capsule Corp, helping Bulma calibrate a new key analysis array. His casual tone does not match the way every muscle in his body has just tensed. And it's not WHIS. How many angels do you know? Bulma asks, not looking up from her terminal. 2. WHIS and Varos. This one is different. It feels like he searches for the right comparison, like a filing cabinet. Everything organized, everything in its place. No personality, just function. That sounds terrifying. It is. He meets Orath in the upper atmosphere, away from civilians, away from cities, the highest point he can reach without leaving Earth's gravity well. a gesture of containment, keeping whatever happens next away from the people below. Orath hovers, staff held vertically, gray eyes flat. He examines Goku the way a quality control inspector examines a defective product. "You are the anomaly," Orath says. "Not a question. The mortal who has touched divine frequency and sustained it beyond expected parameters. Your energy signature matches the ceiling fracture event recorded 47 days ago. My name is Goku. Irrelevant. You are a Class 1 deviation, a mortal who has exceeded the established boundaries of mortal development. The ceiling exists to prevent exactly this occurrence. Your continued existence in your current state represents a destabilizing variable in the universal balance framework. I don't know what most of those words mean. They mean, I'm here to neutralize you." Orath's staff hums. The angelic energy within it, pure, cold, absolute, activates to a level that makes the atmosphere itself flinch. Standard procedure for ceiling approach anomalies is observation followed by natural burnout. You have not burned out, you have exceeded. This necessitates active intervention. And if I don't want to be neutralized? Your preferences are not a variable in this calculation. Goku versus Orath, the first angel fight. I want to be very clear about something before this fight starts, y'all. Goku loses this fight. He loses it badly. And I'm going to show you why, because understanding the gap between a mortal, even the most extraordinary mortal who has ever lived, and a true angel is essential for understanding what has to happen in Part 5. Goku goes apex immediately. No warm-up, no escalation. He read Orath's power the moment the angel arrived, and what he read told him that anything less than the convergence is suicide. The dual aura activates, one eye golden, one silver, white hair wild, crimson vein lines pulsing. The ceiling crack widens slightly as the form stabilizes, a persistent, ongoing pressure against the barrier that kept mortal power contained. Orath observes this. His gray eyes catalog every detail: the dual energy signature, the null space framework, the void step integration. He processes the form's architecture with the analytical efficiency of a being designed specifically for assessment. "Interesting," he says. "The word carries zero emotional weight. A dual-frequency mortal form utilizing void state energy as a buffer. Theoretically elegant, practically insufficient." He moves. Y'all, an angel in combat is a different thing than anything Goku has faced. Beerus at 70% was powerful, yes, devastating. But Beerus fights within the rules of combat as they're understood by mortals and gods. He attacks, defends, counterattacks. There's a flow to it, a rhythm, a back and forth that both participants can engage with. Angels don't fight within the rules. Angels fight from above the rules. Orath doesn't attack Goku. He attacks Goku's ability to fight. His strikes don't target Goku's body. They target the key pathways that power his transformation. His defenses don't block Goku's attacks. They disassemble them mid-flight, breaking the energy constructs down into component frequencies and dispersing them before they arrive. His movement doesn't dodge Goku's strikes. It occupies the exact position where Goku's strike was going to be before Goku decides to throw it, because an angel's temporal perception sees the decision before the body implements it. Goku is fighting a being who exists in a dimension of combat that he cannot access. Think of it like this: if mortal combat is checkers and Godi combat is chess, angelic combat is programming the computer that runs the chess simulation. They're not playing the same game. They're operating the system that the game runs on. Every technique Goku throws is countered before it's launched. Every strategy is predicted. Every innovation, the void step movement, the dual path energy mixing, the real-time adaptation that made Apex so devastating against Piccolo, is cataloged, analyzed, and neutralized with mechanical efficiency. Orath hits him. Once. A single strike, staff extended, angelic energy focused into a point, delivered with the same casual precision that WHIS uses to chop vegetables. It connects with Goku's chest, and the convergence form stutters. The null space wavers. The dual paths destabilize. For a horrible second, divine and primal energy collide inside Goku's body without the void step buffer, and the annihilation reaction tears through his key pathways like fire through paper. Goku screams, not the controlled exhalation of his divine tinted transformation, not the battle roar of SSJ-3, a scream, the sound of a body being damaged at a level beyond physical. He recovers, forces the null space to restabilize, pushes Apex back to full power, attacks again, harder, faster, more desperately. Void Step flickering him in and out of existence, dual energies slamming against Orath's defenses from angles that shouldn't be possible. Orath blocks everything, without effort, without interest. Your form cracks the ceiling, Orath observes, deflecting a combination that would have destroyed a planet with the back of his hand. This confirms the necessity of neutralization. The ceiling exists for a reason, mortal. What lies beyond it is not meant for you. Says who? Says the order that maintains your reality's existence. Goku pushes harder, pushes Apex beyond where he took it against Piccolo, beyond the stable operating parameters, pouring everything into the convergence, every lesson, every path, every piece of himself, and channeling it through Void Step into attacks that flicker between divine and primal frequencies in alternating waves, a combat style that shouldn't be parsable by any single analytical framework. And for a moment, one single, shining, impossible moment, something happens. The ceiling crack widens. The fracture that the convergence created spreads further, and through the gap, Goku's power spikes. For one heartbeat, his output exceeds the ceiling entirely, pushes past the barrier, touches the space on the other side, and produces a pulse of energy that is neither mortal nor divine, but something else. Something new. Something that has no name because it has never existed before. Orath feels it. And for the first time in an existence spanning billions of years of methodical, emotionless service, Orath retreats. Not far. 3 feet. A single backward step. But an angel stepping backward is the equivalent of a human screaming and running. It is wrong. It is not supposed to happen. Angels don't retreat because angels don't need to retreat, because angels exist above the level where retreat is a concept that applies. The pulse fades. The ceiling partially reseals. Goku's body, pushed far past its limits, collapses. Apex drops. Every transformation drops. He falls from the sky, base form, human fragile, broken in ways that go beyond bone and tissue. Orath watches him fall, catches himself, resumes his composed posture. But the gray eyes are different now. Something in them has shifted. Not emotion, Orath doesn't do emotion, but assessment priority. The anomaly just produced a pulse that made an angel step backward. The situation has been reclassified. He does not pursue. He does not neutralize Goku while the Saiyan is falling helpless, unconscious. He leaves. Not out of mercy, out of protocol. The anomaly has exceeded his mission parameters. What he just witnessed requires escalation to his superior. He needs to report. Varos catches Goku before he hits the ground. The fallen angel, having sensed the fight from across the planet and rushed to assist, arrives too late for the combat but just in time for the fall. He cradles his student, battered, broken, barely breathing, and looks up at the sky where an angel just stood. "This is going to get worse," Varos murmurs. "Isn't it?" "It is." Orath reports to the Grand Priest. The report is precise, clinical, comprehensive. Every detail of the anomaly's capabilities, the dual path form, the void step integration, the ceiling fracture, the pulse that forced a backward step, cataloged and transmitted in a data format that leaves no room for interpretation. The Grand Priest receives it and responds. He does not send an army, he does not dispatch another investigator, he does not issue an ultimatum or a warning or a diplomatic communication through proper channels. He sends a message. The message is a planet. It happens at 3:17 a.m. Earth Standard Time. A world in Universe 7, a populated planet called Verida 6, home to 2.3 billion sentient beings located approximately 600 light years from Earth, simply ceases to exist. Not explodes. Not is destroyed. Ceases. The Grand Priest reaches across the dimensional barriers, touches Verida 6 with a fraction of his power, and erases it. Not in the dramatic, fiery way that a god of destruction might erase a world. In the quiet way. The thorough way. The way that leaves no debris, no residue, no evidence that anything was ever there. One moment, a planet with cities and cultures and people who love each other and argue about politics and make breakfast for their children. The next moment, empty space. A gap in the constellation where a world used to orbit. 2.3 billion lives. Gone. And stamped into the energy residue of the erasure, readable by anyone with divine level perception. A message. This is a warning. The anomaly will cease. The ceiling will be restored. Non-compliance will result in further corrections. Goku feels it. He's recovering from the Orath fight. 3 weeks into a healing process, that Bulma's best medical technology is barely managing because the damage from an angel's strike goes deeper than flesh and bone and key pathways. He's in bed. He's been in bed for 3 weeks. His body is mending, slowly. The Divine Foundation and Saiyan Biology collaborating on repairs that would be impossible for any other mortal. And then at 3:17 a.m., the deaths hit him. His perception, even suppressed, even in a damaged body, even in a healing coma, is sensitive enough to feel the energy signatures of 2.3 billion lives extinguished simultaneously. Not one by one, not in waves, all at once. A candle with 2.3 billion flames going out in a single breath. He sits up in bed. His eyes are wide, his hands are shaking. No, he whispers, no, no, no. His perception expands involuntarily. He reaches across the light years, further than he's ever reached, further than he's ever tried to reach, his damaged body screaming in protest as he extends his awareness to a point 600 light years distant and finds nothing. A gap. An absence where a world full of people used to be. Not a ruin, not a graveyard, just nothing. As if someone took an eraser to the universe and rubbed out one tiny corner. He can feel the afterimage, the energy ghosts. 2.3 billion unique signatures, each one representing a person who woke up that morning with plans and fears and hopes imprinted on the fabric of space-time, like shadows on a wall after a nuclear flash. They're already fading. In a few hours, even the afterimage will be gone, and the universe will forget Verita 6 ever existed. The Grand Priest did this. Goku knows it in his bones, in his divine-trained perception, in the signature of the erasure. Too clean, too thorough, too absolute for anything less than the supreme authority of the angelic order. The Grand Priest killed 2.3 billion people. As a warning. As a message to him. This is your fault. These people are dead because you exist. More will die if you continue. I need to slow down here, y'all. Because what happens to Goku in the next few hours is the most important character moment in the entire story, and I need you to understand what it does to him. Goku has faced pain before. Krillin's death, the Malachar fight, the Orath loss. He's experienced grief, fear, failure, injury, but he has never experienced guilt on a planetary scale. He has never been the reason billions of people died. Not the direct cause. He didn't pull the trigger, but the reason. The Grand Priest erased Verita 6 because of him. Because he exists, because he trained, because he pushed against the ceiling, because he did exactly what WHIS raised him to do. Every person on that planet died because Goku tried to become something more. The guilt is, look, I'm not going to describe it in clinical terms. You've felt guilt. You know what it does. Now multiply it by 2.3 billion and add the divine perception that lets you feel every single one of those deaths individually as distinct events as people who were alive and then weren't. It doesn't make him angry. Not yet. Anger would be simpler. Anger would give him a target, a direction, an enemy to punch. What it does is worse than anger. It makes him doubt. For the first time since it's lifted him from a crater at age 3, Goku doubts whether this is right, whether the path he's on, the ascent, the growth, the relentless push toward the ceiling is worth the cost. Whether his curiosity, his hunger to see what's next, his refusal to accept limits, whether it's selfish, whether it's a child's desire dressed up in cosmic significance, whether WHIS was wrong, whether the Grand Priest is right, whether the ceiling exists for a reason, and that reason is to prevent exactly this, mortals ascending beyond their station and bringing divine-scale consequences down on people who can't defend themselves. This doubt is more damaging than Orath's strike, more devastating than any physical injury, because it attacks the core of who Goku is, the curiosity, the forward lean, the I just want to see what's next that has driven every action, every transformation, every impossible achievement since he was a child staring at the universe through the walls of a pocket dimension and asking, can I go there? If the answer to what's next is 2.3 billion dead, maybe next isn't worth seeing. Goku doesn't tell anyone what he felt. Not Krillin, not Bulma, not Varos. He waits until his body is healed enough to move, and then, in the middle of the night, without explanation, he returns to the Pale Garden. He doesn't go to the house. He walks past it into the deep garden to the section he rarely visits, the far edge, where the dimension thins and the membrane between the garden and the void is at its thinnest, where the silence is absolute. He sits, and he begins the process of dismantling himself. I know that sounds dramatic, let me be specific. Goku, sitting in the deepest silence of the Pale Garden, makes a deliberate choice to strip away every transformation, every technique, every layer of power he's accumulated across 24 years of the most advanced training in mortal history. Not because he's giving up, not because the doubt has won, but because the doubt showed him something true. He's been building up, layer upon layer, technique upon technique, transformation upon transformation, each one added to the last, creating an increasingly complex architecture of power. SSJ, SSJ2, SSJ3, SSB, SSJ4, Apex. Each level a new floor in a tower that reaches toward the ceiling. But the tower has no foundation strong enough for what comes next. The ceiling didn't crack because the tower is tall enough. The ceiling cracked because in one moment against Piccolo, all the layers aligned. All the pieces worked together. And that alignment was held together by willpower and void step and desperation. Not by genuine integration. If he's going to break the ceiling, really break it, not just crack it, he needs something different. Not more power. Not another transformation. Something underneath all the transformations. Something that exists when everything else is stripped away. He needs to find out what he is without the forms, without the paths, without the divine and the primal and the angelic and the mortal. What is Goku when Goku has nothing left? He begins. Sable finds him 3 days into the isolation. She drifts to his corner of the garden, her translucent form dimmer than usual, her golden eyes soft with concern. "You're unraveling," she says. "I'm simplifying." Same thing from this angle. She sits beside him, ghost beside a man. They're quiet for a while. "I felt them die," Goku says eventually. "Billions of people, because of me. Not because of you, because of the one who killed them. Because I pushed the ceiling. Because I'm trying to break a barrier that was put there to prevent things like this." Sable's golden eyes sharpen. "Is that what you think the ceiling is? A protection? Isn't it? No?" Her voice carries a weight that surprises him. Not anger, not grief, but something harder. Certainty. "The ceiling is a leash. I know, Goku. I know. I hit it. I pushed it, and when I got close to breaking it, the Grand Priest didn't punish me to protect anyone. He erased me because I threatened him. Because a mortal who breaks the ceiling proves that his entire system, the hierarchy, the order, the neat arrangement of gods and angels and mortals, everyone in their place, is built on a lie, the lie that mortals need the ceiling, that without it, we'd destroy ourselves. Would we? Maybe. Maybe some would. But that should be our choice, not his. And if the choice costs 2.3 billion lives?" Sable is quiet. The ghost of a woman erased for daring to reach too high, sitting beside a man who is tearing himself apart because reaching too high brought consequences down on the innocent. "I can't tell you what's right," she says finally. "I can tell you what I know. The Grand Priest killed those people, not you. He chose to erase a planet as a message, as leverage, as a tool of control. And if you stop now, if you let the guilt win, if you accept the ceiling and go back to being a mortal who knows his place, then those 2.3 billion people died for nothing. Their deaths become just another entry in his ledger, another example of why mortals should never try." She looks at him, into him, through him. "But if you keep going, if you break the ceiling, then their deaths become the weight that pushed you through. They become the reason the system changes. They become the last planet the Grand Priest ever erases." Goku closes his eyes, and in the darkness behind his eyelids, he makes a decision. 6 months. Goku spends 6 months alone in the Pale Garden, the longest period of isolation since his childhood. No WHIS. The angel respects the need and stays away. No Varos. No friends from Earth, just Goku, the garden, and the quiet. And Sable. And eventually, Thane. Void Step connects Goku to Thane's remnants in a way that deepens over time. As Goku sits in isolation, stripping away layers, simplifying himself, the Void State integration grows stronger. And through it, Thane's fragmented consciousness becomes not present, exactly. Not alive, but available. A whisper in the nothing. A guide in the emptiness. Thane's whisper teaches what Void Step's fighting application couldn't, the philosophy of nothingness. The understanding that absence is not the opposite of presence. It's the foundation of it. That everything that exists is defined by the nothing that surrounds it. That the most powerful state is not maximum power, but zero state, the point of absolute stillness from which any movement is possible. Goku strips away the transformations one by one. Lets SSJ go. Lets SSJ2 go, SSJ3, SSG, SSB, SSJ4, Apex. Each one released, examined, and set aside, not discarded, not forgotten, but recognized as what they are. Expressions, not essences. Tools, not identity. He goes deeper. Below the transformations, below the techniques, below the angelic foundation and the primal heritage. Down to the base, to the energy that existed before WHIS taught him anything. To the key that was in his body when he was 3 years old, crying in a crater, grabbing an angel's finger. He finds it. The core. The irreducible Goku. Not the prodigy, not the student, not the convergence, just a person. A being made of energy and will and curiosity, the simplest possible version of himself. And from that core, he rebuilds. Not upward this time, outward, in every direction at once. The transformations don't stack, they radiate. Each one a facet of the same core, accessible simultaneously, part of a unified whole rather than a hierarchical tower. And at the center of it all, in the space between the facets, the null space where nothing exists. Ultra Instinct. Not the canonical version. Not the silver-haired power-up that came from pushing through exhaustion in a tournament. This Ultra Instinct is born from emptiness. From 6 months of stripping away everything and finding the void at the center. From Thane's philosophy of nothingness. From Sable's stories about Saiyans who learn to exist in the space between action and thought. From the angelic Kata's lesson about synchronizing body and environment. From the Void Step's revelation that absence is not weakness, but potential. Ultra Instinct. Void. He doesn't transform, that's the first thing you notice. Or rather, that's the first thing you don't notice because there's nothing to notice. No aura, no hair change, no visual indicator of power-up. Goku stands up from 6 months of meditation and looks exactly like himself. Completely ordinary. A man in simple clothes with dark hair and dark eyes and a tail. But the presence is wrong. In the specific, terrifying way that something perfectly still in a world of motion is wrong. Goku's body has achieved a state of absolute integration with its environment. Not the 50-foot radius of the angelic kata, not the continent-spanning perception of his training, but total. He is synchronized with everything. The garden, the dimensional membrane, the universe beyond, the void beyond that. He exists and doesn't exist simultaneously. His body is present. You can see it, touch it, interact with it. But his energy is absent, not suppressed, not hidden, absent. The key signature that has defined him his entire life, the mortal divine frequency, the dual path resonance, the complex waveform of a being trained by angels and forged through combat, is gone. There is no signature, there is no frequency, there is no signal. He is near translucent, not invisible, you can see him, but light behaves differently around him. It bends, not dramatically, not like a lens or a mirage, subtly, as if the space Goku occupies is slightly less there than the space around it, as if he's partially stepped outside reality and is viewing it from the margin. No aura, light bends around him. He exists and doesn't exist. It's terrifying to witness. Sable sees it first. She's been watching from the garden's edge, the ghost who gave him his heritage, who told him stories of Saiyans, who sang around bonfires, who cried golden tears when a 12-year-old completed the impossible. She sees Goku stand up in Ultra Instinct void and her translucent form shivers. Oh, she breathes. Oh, child, what have you become? Goku looks at her, looks through her, not with the divine perception of SSG or the primal awareness of SSJ4, with something else, something that sees the void inside things, the nothingness between atoms, the absence that defines presence. I don't know, he says. His voice has no harmonic, no resonance. It sounds perfectly normal and perfectly empty, like a room that's been cleared of all furniture. I think I'm what's left when everything else is taken away. Let me try to explain this form because it's the one that takes Goku from extraordinary mortal to existential threat to the divine order. Ultra Instinct in canonical Dragon Ball is about reaction. The body moves on its own without conscious thought, responding to threats faster than the mind can process. It's the ultimate defensive and offensive instinct, perfect automated combat, thought removed from the equation. Ultra Instinct Void takes this concept and inverts it. Canonical UI, the body reacts without thought. Void UI, the body reacts without presence. In Void UI, Goku doesn't dodge attacks by moving faster than them. He dodges by not being where they arrive. The Void Step integration means his body occupies a state of quantum uncertainty. He is simultaneously in every position within his synchronization radius and in none of them. An attack aimed at where Goku is fails because Goku isn't anywhere in the specific targetable sense that an attack requires. In Void UI, Goku doesn't hit opponents harder, he hits them from nowhere. His strikes originate not from a fist or a foot or an energy projection, but from the void itself, from the nothingness that exists between his body's quantum uncertain positions. The strike doesn't travel from A to B. It appears at B, fully formed, coming from a direction that doesn't exist in three-dimensional space. And in Void UI, Goku's power isn't measured by any standard scale, because there's no signature to measure, no frequency, no amplitude. He has power, immense power, the accumulated strength of every transformation and every training breakthrough he's ever achieved, but it exists in a state of potential rather than expression. It's all there. It's all accessible. But until the moment he uses it, it doesn't register on any detection system in the universe. He's a loaded weapon that looks like an empty room. Power at the end of Part 4. Ultra Instinct Void puts Goku at the ceiling, not approaching it, not cracking it, at it, pressing against it with sustained, continuous force. He is, at this moment, the strongest mortal who has ever existed, stronger than Thane was when the Grand Priest unmade him, stronger than Sable was when the Grand Priest erased her, stronger than most gods of destruction, comparable in momentary bursts to weaker angels. The ceiling is cracked but not broken. The barrier holds, and behind it, pressing back against Goku's pressure from the other side, is whatever lies beyond mortal limits. The thing that Thane died for, the thing that Sable was erased for, the thing that the Grand Priest has spent billions of years ensuring no mortal ever reaches. Goku can feel it, the other side. It's right there, just past the barrier, close enough to almost touch, close enough to drive him insane with wanting. But the ceiling holds, and to break it, to truly shatter the barrier that has contained mortal potential since the dawn of existence, Goku will need something that no amount of training, no transformation, no technique can provide. He'll need an answer. The Grand Priest's ledger updates. The anomaly in Universe 7 has not been neutralized. The ceiling fracture has stabilized but not healed. The warning, 2.3 billion lives, a planet erased as leverage, has not produced compliance. The mortal continues to grow. The mortal has entered a state that Orath's report describes as energy absent combat integration, a form with no detectable signature and no measurable power ceiling. The Grand Priest reads this, rereads it. For the third time in his existence, only the third time in billions and billions of years, he categorizes a mortal being as a Class 1 existential deviation. The first was Thane, he was unmade. The second was Sable, she was erased. The third is Goku. The Grand Priest convenes a tribunal. All angels, all gods, every divine authority in every universe, summoned to a chamber that exists above all realities to hear the case against a mortal who dared to push against the law that keeps the multiverse ordered. The verdict will be delivered in Part 5. The Pale Garden, late. The sky is silver white, the way it was when Goku was a child, before WHIS learned to change its color. The grass is pale, the wind is silent. Goku sits on the porch of the house where he grew up. The house where WHIS fed him divine food and taught him to perceive the universe. The house where he learned the angelic kata and spoke to Sable and became who he is. WHIS sits beside him. They don't speak for a long time. They're going to come for me, Goku says. Yes, the Grand Priest, all of them. Yes, and the universe. They might erase the whole universe. They might. Goku looks at his hands, the hands of a mortal, small compared to the forces arrayed against him. Finite, breakable, mortal, WHIS. Yes, Goku, was it worth it? All of this? Taking me from the crater, breaking the edict. Everything you risked. Everything that's happened because of what you started. WHIS is quiet for a very long time. When I found you, he says, you were a crying infant in a hole in the ground. You grabbed my finger and you wouldn't let go. He pauses. In 24 years, you've completed a kata no mortal should be able to perform. You've discovered Super Saiyan through grief instead of rage. You've defeated a wild destroyer. You've touched divine ki. You've cracked the ceiling. You've achieved a state of existence that my kind doesn't have a name for. He looks at Goku. And for the second time in the story, for only the second time in billions of years of angelic existence, the composure cracks. Not much, just a hairline. Just enough. You asked me once if angels can cry. I told you we can't. He pauses. I think I was wrong about that. I think we just haven't had a reason to. Goku puts his hand on Whis' shoulder, a mortal comforting an angel. The absurdity of it, the beauty of it. I'm gonna break it, Whis. The ceiling, the whole system. I'm gonna tear it down and prove that your bet was right. And if you can't, the grin. The Goku grin. Battered and tired and carrying the weight of 2.3 billion ghosts and the attention of every divine being in existence, and still burning with that unkillable curiosity. Then I'll be the guy who tried, and the next one will get further. Part 4 is done, the ceiling is cracked, the tribunal is called, the war is coming. Part 5, the final arc coming next.